6th of April 2023, 15 or 14 days to go to the end of the holy month of Ramadan. Thank you for tuning in to your number one station for news and updates. I'm your presenter, Abdurrahman Yusuf, and these are the stories that are making our headlines tonight. Displaced families in Baidoa receive housing support from UN Habitat Somalia, NRC and Sweden. United Arab Emirates re-employs 3,000 Somali National Army soldiers. European Union boosts Somalia peacekeeping mission. The Ethiopian Ministry of Health reveals cholera outbreak in Oromia, Somali regions. Glad to have you back. Now let's delve into our full bulletin. UN Habitat Somalia, in partnership with the Norwegian Refugee Council East Africa with the funding from Swedish government, has successfully rehabilitated the homes of 100 displaced families in Baidoa, providing them with a much needed shelter and sense of stability. The project, which targeted some of the most vulnerable households in the region, is part of a broader effort to improve living conditions for those affected by conflict and environmental crisis in Somalia. UN Habitat Somalia, in partnership with the Norwegian Refugee Council East Africa and Yemen, and with the funding from the Swedish government, has successfully rehabilitated the homes of 100 displaced families in Baidoa, providing them with a much-needed shelter and sense of stability. The project, which has targeted some of the most vulnerable households in the region, is part of a broader effort to improve living conditions for those affected by conflict and environmental crisis in Somalia. The 100 families who had been living in dilapidated and uninhabitable structures can now rest easy knowing they have a roof over their heads. The rehabilitation project involved the repair of damaged walls, roofs, and doors, as well as the installation of solar-powered lighting systems to ensure a safe and secure living environment. UN Habitat Somalia led the project, working closely with the NRC and local partners, while funding was generously provided by the Swedish government through its embassy in Somalia. The initiative is a testament of the power of collaboration and the importance of addressing the ongoing housing crisis in the war-torn country. The collaboration between the UN Habitat Somalia, NRC and Sweden highlights the positive impact of coordinated efforts and the significance of addressing the ongoing needs of the displaced people. The Somali government, in collaboration with international organizations and donors, has been working to alleviate the suffering of the internally displaced persons across the country. According to the United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, there are currently over 2.9 million IDPs in Somalia, with many living in makeshift settlements and lacking access to basic services. The United Arab Emirates has returned 3,000 soldiers, part of the UAE forces in Somalia, to Mogadishu. The soldiers' management, guidance, salaries and supplies are provided by the UAE government. The move comes after the Somali government signed a controversial security agreement with the UAE, which has raised concern about Somalia's sovereignty and its potential status as a colony.
The United Arab Emirates has returned 3,000 soldiers, part of the UAE forces in Somalia, to Mogadishu. The soldiers' management, guidance, salaries and supplies are provided by the UAE government. The move comes after the Somali government signed a controversial security agreement with the UAE, which has raised concerns about Somalia's sovereignty and its potential status as a colony. Some of the returned troops have been trained in Uganda, and Somali President Dr. Hassan Sheikh Mohamud recently participated in the completion of their training. The soldiers were given a first month's salary of $500 upon their departure from Mogadishu, making them a better paid than all of the federal government registered soldiers, including those trained by Western governments. The security agreement between Somalia and the UAE grants the latter full authority to establish bases of any kind in Somalia. The UAE has already begun implementing this provision, with military bases in Mogadishu and Kismayo and shipments of military vehicles arriving in the country. Critics argue that the agreement undermines Somali sovereignty and could effectively make Somalia a colony of the UAE. This could let the UAE to maintain tight control over the parliament and parliamentary committee, ensuring that no anti-UAE laws are passed. The terms of the deal permit the UAE to build military bases in Somalia, assume responsibility for Somalia's security, bring in mercenaries and create their own Somali forces under their direct control, establish intelligence forces within the country, conduct natural resource surveys and extraction, immune to questioning or legal consequences for their actions. Opponents of the agreement question the motives behind the Somali government's decision to enter into such an agreement, given the potential loss of sovereignty. They argue that the agreement makes Somalia a vassal colony and that no amount of economic benefit or short-term stability should outweigh the nation's long-term independence and self-governance. Many experts and academics concur that the terms of the security agreement may indeed jeopardize Somalia's sovereignty, warning that the nation could become a vassal colony under the UAE's influence. But the growing unease among Somali people and international observers alike could pressure them to reassess the long-term implications of their partnership with the UAE. As the situation unfolds, the question of what led the Somali government to willingly enter into such controversial agreement and whether the nation's sovereignty can be preserved remains at the forefront of the discussion.
The Africa Union Transition Mission in Somalia is marking 1 year since its mandate began with a shot in the arm, 118 million from the European Union for its 2023 preparations. Annette Weber, AU Special Representative for the Horn of Africa, announced a new funding on 27th March at the UN Security Council private meeting on Somalia in New York.
The African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, ATMIS, is marking 1 year since its mandate began with a shot in the arm. Annette Weber, EU Special Representative for the Horn of Africa, announced the funding on 27th March at the UN Security Council private meeting on Somalia in New York. Weber told the UN Security Council, the world's most powerful body, that 85 million euros has been allocated for the military component of ATMIS, and an additional 33 million euros for its civilians and police components for 2023 and 2024. In her statement, Weber said the allocations for this year bring the EU's total support to the UN-mandated mission so far to more than 2.5 billion euros. The transition to ATMIS envisioned a transition to Somali-led security as stipulated in UNSCR 2628 and 2670. Uganda was the first country to send troops to Somalia in 2007 at the start of the mission and maintains an estimated 6,000 troops in the country. Others like Burundi followed, and now there are troops from Kenya, Djibouti, Ethiopia as well. Weber in her address revealed that the EU is also increasing its support to the Somali National Army to 25 million euros. The European Peace Facility is an off-budget funding mechanism for EU actions with military and defense implications under the Common Foreign and Security Policy framework.
The Minister of Health disclosed a cholera outbreak has affected 18 districts of Oromia and Somalia regional states. The ministry said despite efforts were made to put under control the cholera outbreak in 5 districts of Oromia and Somalia regional states, 18 zones are still in the grip of the epidemic. A local news quoted statement from Friday, 31st March 2023 by the Minister of Health. The measles outbreak, malaria have also occurred in various regions. Ministry of Health disclosed that a cholera outbreak has affected 18 warders of Oromia and Somalia regional states. The ministry said that despite efforts were made to put under control the cholera outbreak in 5 warders of Oromia and Somalia regional states, 18 warders are still part of the grip of the epidemic. A local news source quoted a statement from 31st March 2023 by Ministry of Health that measles and malaria outbreak have also occurred in various regions. The ministry said in a statement focusing on drought and related public health that cholera outbreak has occurred since last August. 18 warders situated in 4 zones of Oromia and 4 warders of Somalia region. The statement indicated that it was possible to control the outbreak in 5 warders of the stated areas. The ministry said it has established in all epidemic areas 23 temporary centers where proper medical services are being given. In an effort to control the epidemic, cholera vaccination has been given to highly exposed section of the community in Oromia and Somalia regions. Moreover, a request has been forwarded to the World Health Organization for provision of 1.2 million vaccines adjacent warders where the epidemic has been traced. As per the report of the United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, close to 3.3 million people are at high risk of warders affected by the cholera outbreak. According to the report, since the start of the epidemic last August, 2,276 people have been affected by the cholera and 50 people lost their lives. Apart from the cholera epidemic, measles has also claimed lives. Ministry of Health said in statement that 153 people lost their lives due to the measles over the last 18 months. The ministry further said 14,775 people were affected by measles in the stated months. The ministry indicated, citing survey data, that excluding Afar and Harare regions, the number of people affected by malaria excelled the data collected over the last 5 years. The Ministry of Health said that the control of malaria epidemic and halt the spread. 19.6 million nets have been sent to the regions and some 80% of them have been distributed to the affected people. Moreover, sufficient anti-malaria drugs were distributed. Community mobilization and communication epidemic threat have also been done at various levels. Currently, utmost efforts have been exerted to contain the epidemic in the affected areas, according to the ministry. That's all we are prepared for you tonight from our desk here in Mogadishu. As a presenter, Abdurrahman Yusuf, have yourself a lovely night.